San Antonio's first news coming up, the latest from the FBI in their investigation into the July 13th assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
We'll hear from Kamala Harris in her first official pre-taped interview tonight on CNN. A dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area, and a surge in enrollment has resulted in transportation issues in the Medina Valley ISD. We'll have details for now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy today, stray shower, thunderstorm possible, highs and low to mid-90s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the mid-90s. Saturday, partly cloudy, a stray shower, thunderstorm possible, highs in the low 90s. It is 73 degrees in Cibolo, Texas, 74 in Lavernia, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time, 622.
San Antonio's first news, the FBI continues extensive analysis of the mindset of the suspected shooter of former President Donald Trump in that assassination attempt on July 13th. So far, they have been unable to establish a clear motive. Here's former Secret Service agent Paul Eckhoff.
Throughout the history of the Secret Service and assassinations and assassination attempts, they're all relatively unsophisticated activities, though they have deadly consequences.
So this one being characterized, Charity, as an unsophisticated assassination attempt by Thomas Crooks. But as the Secret Service agent points out, it can be unsophisticated, but if it's successful, it can be deadly.
Yeah, and based on what they know so far, Crooks had a mixture of ideologies and began searching online for Trump campaign events as far back as September of last year. He also looked at events for both Trump and Biden and looked at the location for the Republican and Democratic national convention. So it's really hard to pinpoint at this time what he was after exactly.
Yeah, that's very hard to pinpoint. And I'm just glad that he wasn't successful, as unsophisticated as it was. He did manage to get farther inside that perimeter than anybody should have been able to get inside and up on a roof. And nobody should have been able to do that.
And it's always hard, when people talk about trying to find a motive. If someone is deranged enough to want to kill people like this, and certainly in the case of a mass shooting, we often talk about what was the motive. The guy was out of his mind. In this case, Thomas Crooks was out of his mind. And Charity, as you mentioned, if he's searching Biden events and Trump events and both conventions, maybe he just wanted to kill, somebody and make a name for himself in a political assassination, whether or not, because as we saw, he had, when he was much younger, he donated to a Democratic cause, yet his dad had Trump signs in the front lawn. So kind of hard to know where his political leanings were.
Yeah, and he even searched how far assassin Lee Harvey Oswald was from JFK when he shot the president in 1963. So it's really hard to pinpoint what his exact motive was. But while he was unsuccessful in his attempt to assassinate former President Trump, although he did suffer a grazed wound to his ear, I mean, we need to remember one man was killed and two others were seriously injured.
So true. Coming up at 6:40, White House correspondent John Decker will have a preview of what we expect tonight on CNN as Dana Bash sits down with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. That's coming up. Charity's got all the news you need to know at the bottom of the hour. WOAI News Time, 625. Woohoo! Rooster, thanks for making it back. We're going for the record today. Jacob, Rooster, Travis, Tommy. Twice the stream is crapped out. If there's a strike 3, we may just
Punt.
give it up for today.
Good morning, Ty.
Ty, welcome in.
Good morning, Rooster, Jacob, Travis, Tommy. He just jinxed it.
Thanks, Travis. We'll see. Yeah, so we have a camera out. There's all kinds of technical issues today. We have a camera out. Mr. T earlier in the control room, they had a TV monitor out.
Yeah.
This thing has crashed twice.
Yeah. I'm blaming it all on that guy I saw in the building this morning that I'd never seen before when I got here. That was eerie.
Yeah. There was a guy, supposedly an engineer, walking through the building.
Never seen him before in my life.
Earlier today.
Morning, David.
See, and I saw on social media yesterday, Mercury went out of retrograde.
Oh.
So everything was supposed to be improving.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a delayed Mercury retrograde situation. I don't know. What do I know? I have no idea.
Look, I checked the list and our good buddy is not on there.
Oh. Maybe we need to rewrite that
list. Jacob got some fog in Lavernia, huh?
Be careful out there.
All the planes have been grounded.
Mothman, very nice. Keep Charity away from all the joysticks. Thank you, Rooster. Rooster in the morning says a cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, I want to see that.
SWAT Cats, I always enjoy some Beatles history. Beatles performed their last concert before paying fans at Candlestick Park in San Francisco on this day in 1966. I should have been there. I was only 6 years old, but I should have been there.
Morning, SWAT. Jacob, how are you?
So we'll let them listen to Charity here, I imagine.
Yes, in about 1 minute.
You've got Charity in about 1 minute. You may or may not see her.
Probably not.
Probably not.
We don't know what you're going to see anymore. Some fog in Seguin as well, huh? Okay. Fog in Lavernia and in Seguin. Gun show. Oh, no, it's Wilkerson's gun shop. Sorry. Here we go. Here comes Charity, everybody.
Woo!
.30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Thursday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Kamala Harris's pre-taped interview with CNN airs tonight, and good news for San Antonio bird watchers. We'll have details, first traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Thursday. Partly cloudy, a stray shower or storm possible, a high near 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 73 degrees. Vice President Kamala Harris's sit-down interview with CNN will air tonight. However, she won't be doing it solo, instead being joined by her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Here's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer.
The long-awaited announcement about when and where Kamala Harris will sit down for an interview didn't do much to lessen criticism from Republicans, but in fact, it provided new fodder. Even some media outlets seem to question the decision, with the BBC writing, "The decision to make this a joint appearance may also fuel growing criticism that after escaping the rigors of a months-long presidential primary, she is now dodging the scrutiny that comes with a solo interview." As the Harris campaign sees it, though, interviews Harris did prior to receiving the nomination and the questions she answers on the campaign trail don't count for nothing.
Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders weighed in on the joint interview with Fox News.
They know that Kamala Harris can't get through an interview all by herself. There is not a lot of confidence in somebody to become the leader of the free world and ask people to make her president of the United States when she can't even sit down with an interview.
Harris will hold a rally in Savannah, Georgia today. Meantime, the Trump campaign is downplaying an incident at Arlington National Cemetery involving a photo op with a former president.
NPR reported Monday that an altercation erupted when Arlington Cemetery staff tried to prevent members of the Trump team from photographing and filming in an area where soldiers were recently killed. It was the third anniversary of the attack at the Kabul airport that killed 13 American service members as part of the hasty exit from Afghanistan. Even though Trump had permission from family members, federal regulations prohibit any sort of partisan political activity at Army cemeteries. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
It will either be today or tomorrow that we know whether the State Fair of Texas will face a lawsuit over its new policy banning guns. The decision was made after last year's shooting at the fair that injured 3 people, and the fair's Carissa Condayanas said the fair is on solid ground.
The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the San Antonio Stock Show, as well as Rodeo Austin, they have similar policies in place to ban weapons. And so we feel this is the measure that we need to put in place.
Attorney General Ken Paxton gave the fair until the end of this week to walk back the new policy, or he could file suit. A group of Republican lawmakers say the rules violate the rights of law-abiding citizens. A group of Texas Republicans want more religious instruction in public schools. Michael Board reports.
Next session, there will be a push for legislation that will mandate the 10 Commandments be posted in all public school classrooms. State Representative Steve Toth says it will give kids context to their lessons.
When we see Martin Luther King's letters from the Birmingham jail, he quoted the book of Esther.
He called the Bible verse a historical document. Earlier this year, Louisiana passed a similar bill. It starts in January, but there's already been a flurry of lawsuits to stop it, saying it's akin to state-sponsored religion. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area. Federal prosecutors said that a years-long investigation led to 12 arrests this week, along with the confiscation of nearly 200 firearms. The suspects arrested were members of an organization that would steal firearms out of cars in the San Antonio region with a plan to sell them in Mexico. The Texas-sized heat wave we're feeling this summer can be deadly, especially for the homeless. Here's Beth Myers.
The hot and muggy weather that's gripping Texas isn't so bad when you have a place to escape the heat, but for the homeless, there are health worries. Terry Belling with San Antonio's Haven for Hope Homeless Shelter says they're struggling to find room for all the people seeking shade.
We are at max capacity for overnight sleeping for single men.
A new report from the Texas Homeless Network says people experiencing homelessness are 200 times more likely to die from heat-related causes than sheltered individuals. I'm Beth Myers, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Investigators say only one person involved in a major crash in Wise County, northwest of Fort Worth yesterday, was wearing a seatbelt. Texas DPS said that person was able to walk away from a wreck that killed 4 people and critically injured 3 others. Officials said a van carrying killing 14 people, veered off of Highway 287 in Alvord and rolled several times, ejecting multiple people. Travelers are gearing up to hit the road for the long Labor Day weekend, and Fox's Tanya J. Powers has more on the best and worst times to head out.
Labor Day weekend forecasts predict that domestic travel will be up 9% compared to last year. So, with more of us taking a trip, when's the best time to go? INRIX, which looks at transportation data and insights, says those going by car should avoid the afternoon and early evening hours of Thursday and Friday, when things are expected to be the most congested. Drivers heading out on Friday should aim to travel before noon or after 7 p.m. Saturday travelers should go after noon. Those returning on Sunday and on Labor Day should leave as early as possible to keep from hitting heavy traffic in the afternoon. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
San Antonio continues to be popular with the bird population despite its urban footprint growth. Researchers at the UTSA carried out a 2-year study that found bird feeders are important in attracting a variety of different birds around town. Over 6,000 birds from some 40 different species were spotted in San Antonio backyards over the 2 years, a number that researchers say is quite high for an urban area. It is 6:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute. But first, a check of your money and the world of business. Ed Corey is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news, Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman, Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days coming right up at 6:48. Charlie will also join us in studio at 8:20. I'm Chris Duell. Coming up at 6:50, we've got your talkbacks with the big interview coming up tonight on CNN. Dana Bash will interview Kamala Harris and vice presidential candidate Tim Walz. We're asking you, if you had a question you could ask tonight, what question would that be? We'll hear from you coming up on the Talkback feature in just a few moments. We are standing by for White House correspondent John Decker. John will have a preview of tonight's interview. And Charity, lots of people thinking about this one, going to have their eyes on it. And a couple of the wrinkles here tonight are, number one, Kamala Harris not doing this interview solo. And number two, it is being pre-taped. Some people wish both of those instances were reversed. that it was a solo interview and that it was live.
Yeah, and she's getting this interview in right at the deadline, her self-imposed deadline of before the end of the month. She would do an interview, and this airs tonight. And again, a lot of people thought she should be doing this solo, not with her running mate. So we'll see how edited it was if we ever find out, and maybe we'll get more insight from Dana Bash, as I'm sure CNN will want to highlight this exclusive interview.
And I wonder, what the policy is about the unedited version being put on their website for us to go check out. Is there a policy against doing that, or is it some of the demands that maybe they can't do that? All things I want to know.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of scrutiny tonight. A lot of people have said that Kamala Harris good at reading a teleprompter, but not as good in an interview or a debate situation. We keep seeing that footage of the Lester Holt interview when he questioned her about not going to the border. And she said, I'm paraphrasing, well, I haven't gone to Europe either. It was kind of a flippant answer and not serious about a very, very serious situation. And a lot of people, Charity, tonight are going to be looking for that gaffe or multiple gaffes if they happen. And those could come back to haunt her.
And I wonder how you can define this interview as a success for Kamala Harris. What is it that she needs to do? Or is that even possible because she has Tim Walz with her to kind of cover and help fill the gaps?
And, I look at it this way, to your question, Charity. It's almost like in a preseason football game. It's a successful game if nobody gets injured. I think it's a successful interview if she doesn't make a major mistake. If there's not a viral moment that the opposition, in this case, the Trump campaign, can, latch onto and put out there and going, oh my God, look what she said. You sure you want to elect her as your next president?
Yeah, and we don't know how much of a heads up Harris had that Biden was ending his re-election campaign. But, when you consider the short time frame she's had to put this presidential campaign together, I do question whether the expectations of her are unrealistic. Obviously, she should have probably done this solo interview sooner than tonight, or it was probably done this week because it was pre-taped. But the more she created all this buildup and more scrutiny, and a lot of it was self-imposed.
And we do have White House correspondent John Decker with us now. John, the big interview tonight on CNN. What do you expect we'll see?
Well, I would expect that CNN's Dana Bash, who's conducting this interview, will ask some tough questions. You've asked me before, what would I ask Kamala Harris if I had the opportunity? And my first question out of the box would be, what are the differences? Is there any daylight in the positions that you have on domestic policy, on foreign policy, than the positions of Joe Biden? And I'd love to hear how she answers that particular question. We'll see if that's one of the questions that we hear from Dana Bash this evening. It will air 9 o'clock Eastern time, heavily promoted by CNN. And as you may already know, and maybe you've talked about this, it's a joint interview. It's an interview that's being conducted with both Kamala Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz.
And John, we know this is pre-taped and edited. Any idea how much control, if any, campaigns typically have on the final product that hits the airwaves?
With a network like CNN, they have zero control, zero. You're right. This taped while this bus tour in Georgia. To me, it made sense for them to do this joint interview while they're on this joint bus tour together. But no, the campaign, the Harris campaign, will not have any control over what's edited, what hits the air. And in fact, I'd be interested in seeing this interview uncut, not just the edited version that CNN puts out.
Is there a possibility they could put that up on their website and we could all go check that out?
There is always that possibility. That's the way that I typically do my interviews, and I do that with all types of people, whether you're talking about senators or members of Congress or the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. I tell them, we're going to put a package together in which we're going to choose sound bites based upon our interview, but we're also going to make that interview available uncut, start to finish.
It's a great way to do business. I wish all news organizations did that. Our thanks to White House correspondent and attorney John Decker. Coming up, Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days. WOAI News Time 6:45.
Hello. Okay, we're good.
Well, Connie Chambers joins us. Hello,
Hey, good morning, Connie.
Bob Rooster.
Bob Rooster.
Bob Rooster. Well, it's actually Bob Beavers, not Bob Rooster.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get my animals confused. I get my animals confused. Yes.
Bob Beavers. Thank you very much. Bob, it is Barry Manilow Eve.
That's right. It's Barry Eve, everybody.
Woo! Tomorrow at 5:40 in the morning, we're going to air the second half of our.
Here comes Andrew with some important
Barry
information.
Manilow.
Sorry, we got some. Our director was giving us directions. Yeah, go figure.
So now, if you request that dude, you could. That opens up like a 640 if you want.
It does.
Yeah.
I still think we could do it better.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about the team. I know nothing.
Yeah. Oh no! I meant the.
I already sent it. I said 620 for him, but if she says no to that, I'll open up 640 as well. Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you were talking about. No. See, my head's in someplace else. I got football in my brain, man.
Man, what a football weekend!
I know.
Looking forward to USC LSU.
Yeah, that's Sunday.
Sunday night.
Sunday night on ABC, I believe.
ABC and ESPN Plus.
So ABC.
ABC.
So I'm hearing ABC. That's what I heard. ABC. Wow, look at that. Mm-hmm. Tim, it's not supposed to hurt when you pick up a glass of water. I don't know how big that glass is, though. You got to give me some more information. Good morning, Eric.
Eric, welcome in. Echo 5 Hotel. Everybody who's in here, thanks for trying a third time. This video stream has crashed twice already this morning. And even when Decker started to cut out a little bit, I was
Did it really?
A little.
Wow.
For just a moment, I was thinking every technical issue today is happening.
Well, that's why when I was on my phone, I was calling our phone to make sure it worked.
Yeah.
Because, I thought about that when he wasn't here. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe our phones are down. So that's what I was doing, was calling. And I saw my name pop up there, so I knew it was working. Don't know, Rooster. Maybe he's on a book tour or something.
He's been.
Oh, 8-ounce glass of water. Okay, then no, it should not hurt. Now, if it's a giant glass of water, yeah, maybe that, water's pretty heavy. Liquid is heavy. I don't even know that. Man. It don't get much better. Thank God Ken's picked up the slack that Fox News let us down with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got talkbacks. We got talkbacks, all right.
Yes.
We got talkbacks, mister.
Plenty?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We can try to get through all of them here, but I don't think it's going to be up. No, we can't. No way we're going to get through all of these. Huh. All right. Yeah, we're not going to get through all these in this break, but that's all right. I'm thinking before headlines at 7, we can do that college football thing.
Okay.
So
before Opelka?
Yeah.
Okay.
The lame matchups. Oh, it's already in there. You say it's your birthday. Yeah, no way we're going to get through all these, but we'll get to as many as we can. We will roll, baby, roll.
Vietnamese prisoner of war. John McCain passed away in August of 2018. Birthday, the king of pop.
Cowboy signed Dalvin Cook.
Yep. Here's the other thing. Somebody on YouTube yesterday was saying that Taylor Swift is bigger than Michael Jackson. As I hear that, I can't name a Taylor Swift song. I think Michael Jackson's songs were more in the national consciousness.
And still are.
Than Taylor Swift
still
songs.
are.
Yeah. I can't name a single.
She may be bigger right now than Michael Jackson is, but Michael Jackson was definitely bigger.
In his era.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there's no question.
Yes.
We're talking from kid
right
to his death.
Well,
and here's some of the stories we're following for you. The long-awaited interview of Kamala Harris airs tonight on CNN, but she won't be alone. The CDC says 6 more people have died from an outbreak of contaminated deli meat, and the U.S. Surgeon General says parental stress is a serious public health concern. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy skies today. Stray shower, thunderstorm possible. Highs in the low to mid 90s. Got a report on our YouTube stream of some fog in Lavernia and Seguin. So if you're in those areas, be careful. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Highs in the mid 90s. Saturday, partly cloudy. A stray shower, thunderstorm possible. Highs in the low 90s. It is 74 degrees in Leon Valley. 74 at the Pearl and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time 6:55.
San Antonio's first news. That is Mr. T. Tim Merriman. She's Charity McCurdy. Our thanks to Charlie Parker for those were the days. He'll be in studio at 8:20. I'm Chris Duell, and we've been asking you all morning the big interview tonight on CNN. Dana Bash sitting down with Kamala Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, asking you if you had a question that you could have Dana Bash ask, or if you could ask a question of Kamala Harris tonight, what would it be? Mr. T, what do we got?
We got our favorite school teacher.
Hey guys, Stephen from Lotto, and I would ask that wannabe socialist, Mrs. Harris, what would you do? What would you say? What would you offer to the American that gets up, goes to work, spends time with their family? Their family's been here for 4, 5, 6+ generations in this country. They just go to work. They don't go to rallies. They just try to do the best they can. They pay their taxes. What's for them? What about those people?
Wow.
Yeah, everyday Americans.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to get?
Yeah, I think it's an important question.
Yeah.
All right, let's head out to Spring Branch.
Good morning. This is Joe from Spring Branch. My question for Kamala would be, will she pardon Trump after she becomes president, or will she allow him to go ahead and go on to jail? Y'all have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Interesting question.
Will she pardon Hunter Biden? That's another question.
That's another question, exactly. All right, here's Terry.
Hi, this is Terry. Is the laughing a disability or what? I'm not really sure about it, but please don't laugh at the world leaders in their faces and cause World War III for us. Thanks a bunch. Bye.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one.
Hi, Walter here this morning. I'm concerned about how well she could handle the Middle East with everything going on over there. I would like to see her asked to name all the Middle Eastern bloc countries and their respective leaders, because I don't think she can do that. Thank you.
That's a pretty big gotcha question. Over the years, we've occasionally heard that among presidential or vice presidential candidates, a question of that nature.
Yeah, that's
just to
a tough one.
demonstrate your geopolitical knowledge.
And I think both sides would probably have difficulty answering that question, even if posed to former President Trump. I think he'd have some difficulty.
That's what their staffs are for.
Yeah, right. We know Biden might have a hard time with that one.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, here's another one.
Hey, good morning, San Antonio. Hey, just thought for the day, I guess, with the recorded interview coming up. In a world where we're on the brink of AI, we already can't tell the difference. How are we really going to know when AI is really affecting us, especially politically? Seems like a pre-recorded interview. It certainly could be a gateway. Just thought for the day.
Yeah, I think I'm getting the gist of the thought, Charity, but I think a major news organization like a CNN, if it were somehow enhancing an interview or manipulating it via AI, I think that would be hard to cover up over the long term.
And I think there's software out there that can detect whether what you're viewing or seeing is AI generated or altered. So I think there's some checks there. But I don't think at this point we're not there yet as far as major news organizations using AI to alter their content.
Software is nice until the AI infects it.
But
takes it over.
The question, though, is a good one because, every month AI gets more sophisticated.
He does. We got time for one more.
Good morning, First News, WOAI crew. This is Tuesday. My question would be, how far in advance did you have the questions in order to prepare for the answers, since this was not live? Have a great day.
Interesting.
And that's a very good question. I think CNN would tell us, whether or not you want to believe it, that she did not have these questions in advance. But I know years ago, Donna Brazile was accused of leaking debate questions to it was either Kamala Harris in 2020 or it was Joe Biden. Anyway, we are at the top of the hour. You know what it's time for? Charity McCurdy has everything you need to know right now, because WOAI news time is 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Thursday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Kamala Harris takes part in her first interview tonight, which is pre-taped. A deadline is looming over a gun ban reversal at the Texas State Fair. We'll have details, first traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Thursday. Partly cloudy, a stray shower or storm possible, a high near 95. Tonight's low in the mid 70s. Right now, 73 degrees. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris will sit down for her first interview since July when she became the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee after President Biden dropped out of the race. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal reports.
The sit-down pre-taped interview with Vice President Kamala Harris is set to air on CNN tonight, and she's doing it with her vice presidential pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Walz, for his part, preferred to promote a different event Wednesday before a group of firefighters in Boston.
Kamala Harris, she's ready to hold him accountable on the debate stage. Tell me you're not looking forward to that.
The focus, though, among her critics is on policy. Tuesday, former President Trump's VP pick, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, told a rally in Michigan that she's copying the former president's policies.
In fact, I've heard that for her debate in just a couple of weeks, she's going to put on a Navy suit, a long red tie, and adopt the slogan, "Make America Great Again."
The debate is scheduled for September 10th. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Republicans, meantime, continue to attack Harris for her so-called flip-flopping on policy positions, including the border. Speaking to Fox's Laura Ingraham, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy questions who's really doing the policy switching.
This is a complete flip. And it's not her saying it. It's the politics of her political staff saying it. She's not even coming out and saying, I changed my position. She's just doing whatever it takes. Instead of a Kamala, it's Camellia.
Harris has seemingly changed her positioning on several key issues, notably fracking and border security. Meantime, former President Trump is campaigning in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Here's Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
It will be the Republican Party nominee's first campaign appearance since special counsel Jack Smith filed a reworked indictment in his election interference case. Former President Trump will likely have a lot to say during campaign stops in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin over the next 2 days. 2016 saw the former president break a presidential election slump for the GOP by becoming the first Republican since the 1980s to win Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He's trying to win both states back after President Biden flipped both in 2020. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Investigators say only one person involved in a major crash in Wise County, northwest of Fort Worth yesterday, was wearing a seatbelt. Texas DPS says that person was able to walk away from a wreck that killed 4 people and critically injured 3 others. Officials said a van carrying 14 people veered off of Highway 287 and rolled several times, ejecting multiple people. It'll either be today or tomorrow that we know whether the State Fair of Texas will face a lawsuit over its new policy banning guns. The decision was made after last year's shooting at the fair that injured 3, and the fair's Carissa Condoyanis said the fair is on solid ground.
The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the San Antonio Stock Show, as well as Rodeo Austin, they have similar policies in place to ban weapons. And so we feel this is the measure that we need to put in place.
Attorney General Ken Paxton gave the fair until the end of this week to walk back the new policy, or he could file suit. Federal agents in Texas are cracking down on so-called machine gun switch kits. Rex Oates has more.
The devices, when attached to a normal gun, turn them into a machine gun.
Rapidly firing multiple rounds with a single squeeze of the trigger, basically a machine gun.
U.S. Attorney Jaime Esparza says they're seeing those switch kits more often on the streets. The ATF in San Antonio this week took down a gang that was selling guns that had been stolen from cars. They were also selling these devices to gang members. They're highly illegal, carrying up to a 10-year prison sentence. I'm Rex Oates, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A group of right-wing Texas lawmakers are vowing to push for legislation that would mandate the 10 Commandments be posted in all public school classrooms. State Rep Steve Toth called it a historical document.
Understand the biblical foundation that America was built on.
He says the Bible verses give kids context in their lessons, pointing to letters written by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Earlier this year, Louisiana passed a similar bill. It starts in January, but there have been already a flurry of lawsuits to stop it, saying it's akin to a state-sponsored religion. And the U.S. Surgeon General says parental stress is a serious public health concern. Vivek Murthy released an advisory that said parents are increasingly overwhelmed by the dizzying pace of the world. It cites a 2023 report that says a third of all parents report high stress. It is 7:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news, a big 7 o'clock hour is upon us. 7:20, Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, his takes on the morning's big stories, including the interview which will take place tonight on CNN involving Kamala Harris. Coming up at 7:40, national correspondent Rory O'Neill, how being a parent can be hazardous to your health, according to the U.S. Surgeon General. That should be interesting. And coming right up on a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This, we'll hear from the FBI special agent in charge of that investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, their latest findings. But first, your traffic and weather together.
Partly cloudy skies. You may see some fog in certain areas. A stray shower or thunderstorm possible today. Highs in the low to mid 90s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. Highs in the mid 90s. Saturday, partly cloudy skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm possible. Highs in the low 90s. It is 73 degrees in Floresville, Texas. 73 at Bun and Barrel downtown, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time 7:10.
San Antonio's first news every weekday morning at this time. We span the globe to bring you the constant variety of audio in a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This. And as we've been discussing this morning, the FBI has released its latest findings into the investigation into that assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Here on Wait Till You Hear This is FBI Special Agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office, Kevin Rojek.
The FBI has not identified a motive, nor any co-conspirators or associates of crooks with advanced knowledge of the attack. And I want to be clear, we have not seen any indication to suggest crooks was directed by a foreign entity to conduct the attack.
When this event was announced, the Trump rally was announced early in July, he became hyper-focused on that specific event and looked at it as a target of opportunity.
So all indications, Charity, was that the shooter, Crooks, was a lone wolf.
Yeah, and on some level, that's even scarier. The fact that there's no known motive. Usually when we're talking about these cases, there's all these red flags. Oh, he posted on social media all the time. People should have said something sooner. In this case, no, he was not on the radar of law enforcement. And it looks like he was searching online for Trump campaign events as far back as September of last year. And it wasn't just Trump. He was also looking for events for President Biden as well.
Yes, and it looked like, as the special agent in charge just said, that once he saw this rally being scheduled in Butler, Pennsylvania, it was an opportunity for him to put his plan in motion. Yes, he did miss his target, but he did hurt people and kill people. So not good.
No, gosh, it could have sadly and frighteningly been even more awful and more tragic than it was on that day. But Charity, you make a great point. You know, so often in retrospect, after a shooting or a mass shooting, you can see little telltale signs, if not, serious signs that this shooter was going to do something like this. And it was hard to discern that from this one.
Yeah, and that's why you hope the Secret Service gets its act together from now and to the foreseeable future, because I don't think things are going to get any better. And the former president continues to campaign, as is Vice President Kamala Harris. And you just hope the Secret Service is able to better communicate with local police, because that was a huge issue with that Butler, Pennsylvania rally, was the fact that they weren't able to communicate, hey, did you check the roof of that staging area? There might be someone on that roof taking aim at the former president.
Coming up, Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, his thoughts on the morning's big stories. And we have a special preview for you if you're a college football fan. It's going to be a big weekend, and we've got something special for you coming up regarding that. WOAI News Time, 7:13.
And we're back.
Is it down?
Why are we running a garden show promo?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the people will be able to hear the college football preview. Very nice.
Yes, they will. I like to share it with them.
Yes. Share with the people.
Share with the people. Boom, 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 boom. Way to go, Bert. We lost our...
Yeah. Thank you. What are you thinking at 50?
At what?
50 more talkbacks?
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
Oh,
dude.
beautiful.
I've got
Okay.
a bunch. I got a bunch. I'm
Cool.
trying to weed through them because there's so many. I didn't know for a fact, but yes, we do. That's why I didn't put it on there, because I didn't know exactly what we were doing.
Yep.
And I am ready with your audio.
Cool.
It's officially week 1, week 0 last year. How can you have a week 0? It makes no
ridiculous.
sense. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, then Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. And at 8:20, Charlie Parker is going to want to talk some college football. Mr. T, it is a big college football weekend with some pretty amazing matchups.
Yeah, it is, Chris.
Get ready for the first big weekend of NCAA college football. With tough matchups on Saturday like number 5, Alabama versus the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Plus number 2, the Ohio State up against the Akron Zips. And number 6, Ole Miss hosts the furious Furman Paladins.
Say what?
This weekend, you can bet on exciting football, but ask yourself one question. Will they cover the spread? Check local listings.
Yeah, if you're having a watch party, I think you should serve cupcakes.
Exactly.
Because a lot of
there are.
Even UTSA is enjoying a cupcake at the Alamo Dome. Kennesaw State, they're 24.5-point favorites.
Is that all?
On Saturday? Yeah.
Okay.
So enjoy your cupcakes. But it's college football, so
But not all are cupcakes.
True.
There are some games.
USC, LSU,
Thank
Sunday
you.
night, 6:30 on ABC.
There you go.
Not that I'm hyper-focused on that one. Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Well, tonight's the night Kamala Harris sits down with her running mate for a joint interview with CNN that is pre-taped. Arlington National Cemetery is confirming a photography-related incident that happened during a visit by former President Trump on Monday. And a dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy today, stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs in the low to mid 90s. There is some fog in certain areas this morning, so be careful. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the mid 90s. Saturday, partly cloudy, a stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs in the low 90s. It is 73 degrees at Fort Sam, Houston, 73 in Lavernia, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time, 7:19.
San Antonio's first news every weekday morning at this time. We check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. He's brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. And Mike, tonight's the night, the big interview on CNN, Dana Bash interviewing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. What is your expectation for tonight?
Very low. I hate to say this, but when it's going to be taped and edited and on CNN with Dana Bash, who I think I have now counted 17 times when she kind of gave them a little help on air, I have very low expectations.
What does Kamala Harris need to do, Mike, in order for this interview to be deemed a success, or is that even possible?
I think she needs to sit down with a live interview, Charity. If she's going to do that, if she's really going to say, I want the most powerful position on the planet, I can handle the pressure, well, then you ought to be able to handle the pressure of a live interview and without an emotional support animal.
So why is she bringing Governor Tim Walz with her?
That's a question that kind of answers itself,
Exactly.
doesn't it? Do you want me to cackle? Do you want me to play what she said at the school yesterday about being in band and missing a note and talking about teamwork? It's just, she is incapable of doing the job by herself. It's really frustrating that CNN is going to do this and tape it and pre-produce it.
And yet, Mike, it seems that polling numbers continue to improve for Kamala Harris, including a Fox News poll showing things getting tighter in the Sun Belt states. Do you think this will all change after that debate on September 10th?
The debate probably has more chance to affect things than tonight's interview. But what I really think is at play here is what in retail is called a loss leader. And the Democrats have realized that Kamala is not a really great candidate, but what she does do is help them with down ballot stuff. So while the Democrats were looking like they were going to lose the Senate and not regain the House, her presence on the ballot will bring out voters that will support down ballot ticket candidates where Joe Biden would not. So they're willing to risk losing the White House in order to regain the House and strengthen the Senate.
And Mike, I got to ask you about this Arlington National Cemetery incident involving former President Trump. What's your take on it, and whether he should have been posing at the grave sites of our service members?
Well, Charity, the families invited him, and we know that now. National Propaganda Radio didn't report the truth. They had one unnamed source, and the language that was being used on mainstream media was pretty vague. You know, they kept saying an incident, an altercation. And then it turns out the families have now stepped up and said, no, we invited him there. So this appears to be a case of Trump derangement syndrome, called somebody at National Propaganda Radio and said, Donald Trump created a problem at Arlington National. I respect Arlington National. I'm there almost every year putting wreaths on graves for Wreaths Across America or cleaning up a month later. I understand the solemn nature of the site. And I think Donald Trump does too. And I think this was just a bad attempt to smear him.
And this is a game changer. There's a Parkinson's victim showing amazing improvement with a new drug. I wish this was around about 10 years ago.
Yeah, this video, when you watch the first 15 seconds of it, of a 52-year-old British man who is struggling to stir his tea or coffee. And then it transitions to the after he's taken the medication. And he's completely normal.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the side effects, but I know that the results in this study, in this case, are remarkable. And I hope that it is a non-surgical solution to so many people struggling with Parkinson's.
Look, if the side effects is not death, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Yeah. I want, it'll be real, Mr. T, when we see Michael J. Fox talking about it.
Yes.
And I hope we see that.
Amen.
That would be nice. Meanwhile, Mike, Megyn Kelly lets it rip on CNN's Caitlin Collins. Apparently not a whole lot of love from Megyn for Caitlin Collins.
I know how Charlie Parker feels about Megyn Kelly, but I still have a very warm spot in my heart for Megyn Kelly. And to watch Megyn Kelly take Caitlin Collins apart was just brilliant. She dropped one B-bomb, rhymes with rich, but it really was, I thought, an accurate assessment from someone who's been there, done that, and got the big payout.
And Mike, sausage sales are surging, and that's apparently a bad thing when it comes to the economy.
Yeah, Charity, I talked to an economist from Heritage yesterday, E.J. Antoni, who explained this to me. One of the indicators of whether or not the economy is in a good way are meat sales. And when expensive cuts of meat are being bought by you and me and everybody else, that indicates there's confidence in the economy. Sausage sales are that big flashing red light that says people are still trying to get protein in their diets, but they can't afford to get the nice cuts of meat. And sausage sales are surging. So that's one of those things that says the economy ain't fixed yet.
You can get more Mike Opelka from his Pure Opelka podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. We recommend the free iHeartRadio app. Another episode will drop today. You don't want to miss that. Mike is brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. Coming up at 7:40, national correspondent Rory O'Neill. According to the U.S. Surgeon General, being a parent can be hazardous to your health. We'll explore that story coming up. WOAI News Time, 7:26.
So what I heard him say is that America's ready for a sausage fest.
Yes.
And we're back.
Woo-hoo! All right. Jacob Sleepy, EN. Roots Rock Reggae.
Damn.
Travis. Kate. Welcome, everybody. SWAT Cats. Sleepy did not want to interrupt Mike Opelka. We understand that. That makes
Okay.
total sense. Schulenburg, Texas.
Love Schulenburg. Frank's Restaurant.
Yeah. A classic.
Damn good, man.
I passed through Schulenburg on Sunday.
That's right, you did.
Driving
Frank's
back
is
from
no
Houston.
longer there, right?
No, Frank's is no longer there,
That
but
sucks.
was a classic.
Oh, it was the best, man. Best.
And before Houston got so insane,
Yeah.
Schulenburg was always kind of like the halfway
It was.
point from-
But not anymore. Not anymore. It's almost like in a suburb of Houston
Right.
now.
Yeah. Once you get to Houston, you got another hour of driving.
Exactly.
So,
all right, real quick, folks. And we're back.
Woo!
Yeah, I love there, man. I love Schulenburg. The burgers were fantastic. Oh, cool. We got first place, man.
My goodness, you're serious,
Damn.
Sleepy. Congratulations.
That's pretty cool. I like a good sausage.
Yes. That college football thing's hilarious.
Isn't it,
Maybe
though?
we play it since Charlie's going to talk football. Maybe ahead of headlines traffic.
If we
another-
can get out in time, yeah.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah. If not, 8:40 after PAG.
Sure. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Because
There she is. And she's wearing pants and it still looks good. Tried smoking sausage once. Couldn't keep the damn thing lit, man.
yeah. I imagine you could.
Simon Cordona Jr. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Simon. Good to see you this morning. Welcome in.
What?
Yeah, some player. I
Yeah.
saw that over the weekend.
Yeah, but that was up in like Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania area, wasn't there? Something like
It
that.
wasn't Texas,
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
I don't believe so. He doesn't look dead. What? He's a roadrunner. Oh, Madison
yeah.
Red Hawks. Okay.
Middle school. Wow, the one I
Yeah.
saw was a high school. So
That's
this
what I
must be
thought.
A different one.
That's what I thought. Man, he looks like he'd be a good lineman.
Yep.
Cindy, good morning.
Yeah. See, there's the guy that.
Yeah,
the high
okay.
school kid. I saw.
Okay.
I saw that over the weekend.
So maybe that junior high school
Was another
that was
one.
another one at a
Maybe,
different
yeah.
time. Yeah. His name's Morgan. I don't know that. Morgan Academy. Okay. Private school.
Private school, apparently a Christian school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You just missed Bob. He was here earlier, Cindy. I'm sure you'll see him tomorrow night, though.
Yes. And happy Manilow Eve, Cindy. We're going to play Barry, a portion of the Barry Manilow interview again tomorrow morning at 5:40 in the morning. Figured it's only right to play Barry Manilow on Barry Manilow Day in San Antonio.
Amen.
Kate loves sausage from Pensham. Is that a town in Texas?
Penshorn, it's a meat market.
Penshorn. Okay.
Penshorn's a good meat market.
And I need to brush up on my meat markets.
There's so many in my area.
Oh, there's multiple?
Oh, my God.
Okay.
It's like on my way home from work on 181, I pass 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Here comes Charity.
$7:31 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Thursday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Kamala Harris's pre-taped interview with CNN airs tonight. And look for a lot of company if you're hitting the road for the Labor Day weekend. We'll have details, first traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Thursday. Partly cloudy, a stray shower or storm possible, a high near 95. Tonight's low in the mid-70s. Right now, 73 degrees. Vice President Kamala Harris will give an interview on CNN tonight alongside her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The Trump campaign has been critical of her lack of interviews and press conferences since entering the race after President Biden dropped out, so they offered their own questions for her. Here's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson.
Kamala Harris's first sit-down interview since President Biden dropped out of the race. It would be a taped interview with CNN's Dana Bash. The Trump campaign was to help out, suggesting a few questions. If you are capable of lowering prices for Americans, why haven't you done it in the 3.5 years you've been in office? You say housing affordability would be a day one priority if you were elected. Why is it not a priority now? You co-sponsored Medicare for All and the Green New Deal. Do you still support these multi-trillion-dollar takeovers of the American economy? You talk about a lot about freedom. What about the freedom of Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, and Jocelyn Nangare? Why did you support executive actions like stopping construction of the border wall and halting deportations that intentionally unsecured the border?
The latest Fox polls have Harris leading Trump by 1 point in Arizona and by 2 in Georgia and Nevada. The former president leads her by 1 point in North Carolina. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is launching a new voter fraud tip line, and it's not without controversy.
The tip line is an email address for Texans with concerns about suspected violations of Texas voter law. In a statement, Paxton said, quote, significant growth of the non-citizen population in Texas and a pattern of partisan efforts to illegally weaponize voter registration and the voting process to manipulate electoral outcomes have created urgent risks to local, state, and federal elections, unquote. Opponents like State Senator Roland Gutierrez are crying foul.
We've seen this show from this crooked Ken Paxton over and over again, and it is only voter suppression and voter intimidation.
Gutierrez wants a DOJ investigation into Paxton's election integrity unit. Eric Lankum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is creating a new political action committee to support the activities of the Senate's conservative majority. Patrick announced the formation of the Texas Senate Leadership Fund. The lieutenant governor said the Senate has led on issues like border security, education, and property taxes, and needs resources to help fulfill future goals. A group of Texas Republicans want more religious instruction in public schools. Michael Board reports.
Next session, there will be a push for legislation that will mandate the 10 Commandments be posted in all public school classrooms. State Representative Steve Toth says it will give kids context to their lessons.
When we see Martin Luther King's letters from the Birmingham jail, he quoted the book of Esther.
He called the Bible verse a historical document. Earlier this year, Louisiana passed a similar bill. It starts in January, but there's already been a flurry of lawsuits to stop it, saying it's akin to state-sponsored religion. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area. Federal prosecutors said a years-long investigation led to 12 arrests this week, along with a confiscation of nearly 200 firearms. The suspects arrested were members of an organization that would steal firearms out of cars in the San Antonio area with a plan to sell them in Mexico. The Texas-sized heat wave we're feeling this summer can be deadly, especially for the homeless. Here's Beth Myers.
The hot and muggy weather that's gripping Texas isn't so bad when you have a place to escape the heat, but for the homeless, there are health worries. Terry Belling with San Antonio's Haven for Hope Homeless Shelter says they're struggling to find room for all the people seeking shade.
We are at max capacity for overnight sleeping for single men.
A new report from the Texas Homeless Network says people experiencing homelessness are 200 times more likely to die from heat-related causes than sheltered individuals. I'm Beth Myers, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The CDC says 6 more people have died from an outbreak of contaminated deli meat. Since May, 9 people have died and nearly 60 have been hospitalized by a listeria outbreak connected to Boar's Head Meats. Boar's Head expanded its deli meat recall in July to include an additional 7 million pounds of ready-to-eat meats from its plants in Virginia. It is 7:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money in the world of business. Ed Corey is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news, Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman. Charlie Parker is in the building. He'll join us at 8:20. He wants to talk a little college football. It's a big college football weekend. Last weekend was week 0.
Yeah, how do you have a week 0? But it's week 1 this weekend. Yes. Everybody plays. Yes, it'll be fun.
So I guess week 0 never happened.
No, it never happened, Chris. It was just a dream.
All right. Coming up, national correspondent Rory O'Neill. In fact, we do have him here right now. Rory, you are tracking a fascinating story. Apparently, the U.S. Surgeon General says being a parent can be hazardous to your health. Help us out with this one.
Yeah, it can be. He's out with a report about parents being under pressure. There's a concern about the mental health and well-being of parents these days. Many of them have been feeling financial stress after the spike in inflation and saying that there is just not enough time in the day with, having to work full time. Many times it's a single parent household, multiple kids. By the time they take care of work and the kids, there's no time for themselves. They're saying that more parents are feeling isolated and alone, having little interaction with other people because of the demands on their time.
And then you throw social media into the mix, Rory. I mean, the evolution of that is happening at a dizzying pace. I mean, it's impossible for parents to keep up with what their kids are up to on these platforms.
Right. So the concern about how to parent a kid with a cell phone, what the rules are supposed to be, especially with a smartphone, and do you make the dumb phone to smartphone jump? At what age should that be done? But also the pressure that comes along with it. I mean, how many of us have seen in our Facebook feeds recently kids holding the little chalkboard sign saying, Sally, starting day 1, grade 3. Well, you better be standing in front of a nicely painted front door that's got a wreath, some corn stalks, and a pumpkin on the front. And she's got to be in the best new clothes. And Sally better look better than Susan down the block because, the HOA is going to. So all these pressures are getting onto parents, and it's having a negative effect. And that can spill down to the kids, too.
So where are they going to put the warning label on the kids? That's what I want to know.
Maybe they put it on the nightstand and nip this in the bud.
So, Rory, does the Surgeon General give any advice to parents on how to better navigate these difficult waters?
He does. So go to the Health and Human Services website, hhs.gov. You're going to see this right on the front page. There's a whole different series of ways you can take action. If you're a policymaker, if you are the employer, maybe you're concerned about the people on your workforce, or how we can help family and friends, and how other groups, community organizations can also support families that might be a bit stressed out these days.
And with the birth rates low, Rory, I mean, this isn't exactly encouraging news for those thinking about starting a family.
No, but, the financial pressure has been a big component of this as well. But this is, we talked about that sense of loneliness. We're also seeing that outside the parental demographic. This is something that's being experienced by people more and more, that ironically, in this age of social media, many people have never felt more isolated.
Our thanks to national correspondent Rory O'Neill. And Charity, you certainly can speak to this issue. You're just, put your daughter into first grade. Your son is younger. And so you've certainly got a lot of experience the last few years raising kids.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I mean, most people are operating on a 2-income household. That's my case. And, it's not what it was 20 years ago, where, you had a stay-at-home parent taking care of the kids. I don't have that luxury. So it's hard. I mean, by the end of the workday, most parents are operating on reserves when it comes to raising their kids. And that's why I live for the weekends. As much as I love my job, I live for the weekends because I get that quality family time where you're really able to spend that time with them and have fun, and you're not as stressed out. But, for those that are operating on a tight budget, I mean, that even complicates the matter even further.
Well, you mentioned the 2-income households. I mean, I don't think anybody in this economy can survive on a 1-income household.
True.
I mean, if you got kids and look, we love our weekends, Charity, because, we like to get away and be not bothered by work on a weekend and get away. And that's mental health. That's a mental health break as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And those who need the mental health help, I mean, where is there time for these parents to get that mental health treatment if they're already torn between work and raising their kids?
Wow.
That's a great point. If there were either, a healthcare professional to see or an activity to do to bring you better mental health, and you don't have time for it, that's certainly a huge, huge factor. My goodness. All right. Coming up, we are hearing a lot from you this morning, and we'll hear more from you. We've been asking you with tonight's big interview on CNN, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz interviewed by Dana Bash. If you could ask a question of Kamala Harris, what would it be? We'll hear your talkbacks coming up. Charlie Parker coming up in the 8 o'clock hour as well. WOAI News Time 7:45.
And we're back.
Hey, everybody.
I got a bunch, dude. There's no way we're going to get to all these. I'm trying to weed them out.
Okay. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. This is a really good one. I got to play from the Wheelchair Warrior in New Braunfels.
Okay.
It's going to be out at the Kendall County Fair this weekend with Communities for Veterans Families. They're taking donations for wreaths across America.
Nice.
So we have to get that one in sometime.
Okay.
Booth 24 at the Kendall County Fair. How cool. Anytime we can help out with that, man, because that's the coolest thing ever. This is interesting. Everybody right now, there's a few people talking about how they set their thermostats at night.
Yeah.
That might be a good talk back one day.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Kind of we'll learn a little bit about people.
Yes.
Good morning, Kate, Jacob, Eric, of course, Tim, Sleepy. There's some other people in here. Kate, I said already. Travis, of course. Connie left. Mary Jo Sweet. Or Mary Jane Sweet. Sorry, Mary Jo. Why I always call her Mary Jo? That's Victor's wife's name is Mary Jo. That's why. Yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow, 8 to 8:30.
8 to 8:30, correct.
Maybe we need to text him and remind him.
Yes, in fact. That's a good reminder. Eric, you just reminded me to text Randy so we can ask him what he wants to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You get a producer credit on the show for tomorrow's show.
Okay. All right. Damn.
Beauty is I can copy and paste it.
Huh.
Previous
Cool.
text.
It's Chris Jewell, everybody.
That's a copy and paste from a July 11th text that I sent to him.
It works.
Yeah.
It works. Ow.
Eddie, good morning.
Huh. Interesting. Stand by.
Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, then your talkbacks on what question would you ask Kamala Harris tonight in the big interview on CNN. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz' first joint interview airs tonight on CNN. A deadline is looming over the state fair of Texas's gun ban policy. And this Labor Day weekend will be one of the busiest ever when it comes to travel. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy skies today, a stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs and low to mid-90s. There's reports of some fog in areas around the town, so be careful out there. Partly cloudy tomorrow, highs in the mid-90s. Tomorrow and on Saturday, partly cloudy skies, stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs in low 90s. It is 73 degrees in Von Ormy, Texas, 73 in China Grove, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time, 7:51.
San Antonio's first news, that's Mr. T, Tim Merriman. She's Charity McCurdy. Charlie Parker in the building. He'll join us at 8:20. I'm Chris Duell. Coming up at 8:10, national correspondent Aaron Real on how the proposed economic packages from Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, how they would affect the national debt if they were implemented. And speaking of Kamala Harris, tonight is the night on CNN. Will Dana bash Kamala or will she throw up softballs? We're asking you, the talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app. If you could ask Kamala Harris a question tonight on that CNN interview, what would it be? Mr. T, what do we have going on?
We have a bunch. Here's the first one.
Good morning from Max in San Antonio. I would ask Harris, as the border czar for Biden's term, what would you do to combat the border crisis as president?
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, what will be different when you're president as at the border? Good question.
All right, here's another one.
If I had an opportunity to ask her anything, I guess it would be, does she have any plans to reverse the changes to Title IX that Joe Biden made? That would be about it.
Okay. That's the first time we've heard that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's check in with Tabmaster.
Good morning, WOAI team. Tabmaster here. While I think that there are a lot of questions that should be asked with honest answers, we just got to look at the circumstances here. We have Cartoon News Network doing a pre-taped interview with Kamala Harris. Yeah, go figure. Come on, man. Y'all all have a great day.
Okay.
Cartoon News Network. I like that.
All right, here's another one.
Good morning, WI. This is Greg from Atkins. I would ask Kamala, what really are your policies? You haven't said anything. All you've done is copy some of Trump's policies and then flip-flopped on every single policy that you put out while you were running for president. You know, there's no way we could trust you because you're not honest. Thank you. You have a great day.
Okay.
You go to her campaign website, there's nothing there.
I know. And look, they don't have much time left. 68 days.
Yes.
Got to get out there.
That's why so much scrutiny will be on this interview.
Oh,
tonight.
gosh, yes. All right, here's another one.
Good morning, y'all. I want to know where Kamala stands on legalizing marijuana. It is 2024 and it is way past that time.
Okay, that's two.
That's the second one this morning. Wants to know her position on cannabis.
Yeah, legalizing it on the recreational side. All right, here's another one.
Good morning, everybody. I have more of a comment than a question. Any job that I have tried to apply for and have applied for, I required an interview. In these interviews that I have actually gone through were not pre-planned or pre-taped or edited. This is somebody that's wanting to be the leader of the free world, and she can't even give a live interview. This is ridiculous.
Wow.
It's a great point.
That is a great point.
Because you are, in effect, being interviewed. Granted, someone conducts the interview, in this case, Dana Bash, but the American people are sitting in, listening to your interview. So by extension, you're being interviewed by the American people. That should be a prerequisite. I think it should be live, Charity.
I agree. And I guess we'll get a quasi-live interview in a debate form on September 10th.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here's one, it's a little off topic, but it's kind of cool.
This is the Wheelchair Warrior from New Braunfels. I'm going to be out at the Kendall County Fair this weekend with Communities for Veterans Families taking donations for wreaths across America. Please come by and see me. We are in booth 24 at the Kendall County Fair. Thank you.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
Booth 24 at the Kendall County Fair. We've heard from Wheelchair Warrior before,
Yes.
and that is a wonderful, wonderful cause, Mr. T.
Amen.
You know, we've got We've got family members buried at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery, and certainly wreaths across America is a very noble cause.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I go out there for my dad's birthday in December, and he's 6 days prior to Christmas, and they're usually out there, and it's the coolest sight to ever see. It makes me, gets me choked up. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we got time for one more.
Good morning, San Antonio. My question to Kamala would be, she's made a lot of promises that she's going to fix everything, the economy, taxes, the border. My question would be, well, where has she been the last 3.5 years? Why does she need to be elected in order to fix everything? Are these not empty promises? Food for thought. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. And that's a big question.
Yeah.
And I think some form of that question, Charity Dana Bash should say, you got all these policies you want to implement, and we realize you're the vice president, but why weren't these implemented the last 3.5 years?
Yeah, and she will have to answer that thoroughly and hopefully succeed in being able to do that, because if she does not give concise answers, and if she's not the one doing most of the talking in tonight's interview, it's not going to be a good look for sure.
8 o'clock hour. It's a big one. Charlie Parker among our guests coming right up. WOAI News Time 7:57.
Eight o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Thursday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Kamala Harris takes part in her first interview tonight, and a deadline is looming over a gun ban reversal at the Texas State Fair. We'll have details first, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Thursday: partly cloudy, could see a stray shower or storm, a high near 95. Tonight it's low near 75. Get a move on. It is 73 degrees. The American people will hear from Vice President Kamala Harris after she and her running mate agreed to a pre-taped CNN interview. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson has more.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Vice President Harris sitting down for her first interview that will be taped alongside her running mate Tim Walz. Now, a new Reuters Ipsos poll shows Harris leading Trump 45-41 nationally. She also has a 13-point lead among women and Hispanic voters. And this new Fox News poll shows Harris with a slight lead over Donald Trump in Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada, states Trump narrowly lost 4 years ago. In North Carolina, Trump is up a point in a state he won back in 2020.
Harris and Walz are campaigning together in Georgia for the first time this week. Meantime, former President Trump is campaigning in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Here's Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
It will be the Republican Party nominee's first campaign appearance since special counsel Jack Smith filed a reworked indictment in his election interference case. Former President Trump will likely have a lot to say during campaign stops in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin over the next 2 days. 2016 saw the former president break a presidential election slump for the GOP by becoming the first Republican since the 1980s to win Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He's trying to win both states back after President Biden flipped both in 2020. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office is mourning the passing of one of its own. 32-year-old veteran Sergeant Timothy Williams suffered a medical episode in the early morning hours of August 17th during a traffic stop. He was taken off of life support last Saturday and passed away. Williams was honored by his fellow deputies with an honor walk yesterday to celebrate his contribution as an organ donor and his 3 decades of service to Bexar County. It'll either be today or tomorrow that we know whether the State Fair of Texas will face a lawsuit over its new policy banning guns. The decision was made after last year's shooting at the fair that injured 3 people. The fair's Carissa Condianis said the fair is on solid ground.
The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the San Antonio Stock Show, as well as Rodeo Austin, they have similar policies in place to ban weapons. And so we feel this is the measure that we need to put in place.
Attorney General Ken Paxton gave the fair until the end of this week to walk back the new policy, or he could file suit. A group of Republican lawmakers say the rules violate the rights of law-abiding citizens. Meantime, Paxton is launching a new voter fraud tip line, and it's not without controversy.
The tip line is an email address for Texans with concerns about suspected violations of Texas voter law. In a statement, Paxton said, quote, significant growth of the non-citizen population in Texas and a pattern of partisan efforts to illegally weaponize voter registration in the voting process to manipulate electoral outcomes have created urgent risks to local, state, and federal elections, unquote. Opponents like State Senator Roland Gutierrez are crying foul.
We've seen this show from this crooked Ken Paxton over and over again, and it is only voter suppression and voter intimidation.
Gutierrez wants a DOJ investigation into Paxton's election integrity unit. Eric Lankum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Investigators say only one person involved in a major crash in Wise County, northwest of Fort Worth yesterday, was wearing a seatbelt. Texas DPS says that person was able to walk away from a wreck that killed 4 people and critically injured 3 others. Officials say the van carrying 14 people veered off of Highway 287 and rolled several times, ejecting multiple people. Federal agents in Texas are cracking down on so-called machine gun switch kits. Rex Oates has details.
The devices, when attached to a normal gun, turn them into a machine gun.
Rapidly firing multiple rounds with a single squeeze of the trigger. Basically a machine gun.
U.S. Attorney Jaime Esparza says they're seeing those switch kits more often on the streets. The ATF in San Antonio this week took down a gang that was selling guns that had been stolen from cars. They were also selling these devices to gang members. They're highly illegal, carrying up to a 10-year prison sentence. I'm Rex Oates, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The Medina Valley ISD is dealing with transportation problems as the district now has over 9,500 students, about 700 more than last year. That growth appears to have caught district officials flat-footed, with reports that hundreds of students in the district have yet to be assigned bus transportation. About 200 students are on a wait list for buses, and some who have been assigned say it's taking some buses 90 minutes to get them to their school. It is 8:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy, traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news, big 8 o'clock hour. Charlie Parker will join us in studio in just a bit at 8:20. He is getting ready for the big college football weekend that is upon us. Joe Pags from the Joe Pags Show at 8:40 with a preview of what he's got coming this afternoon. And coming up next, national correspondent Aaron Real on how the economic plans of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would affect the national debt. But first, your traffic and weather together.
Partly cloudy skies today, stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs and low to mid-90s. There is some fog this morning, depending on where you are. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the mid-90s. And then on Saturday, partly cloudy, a stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs in the low 90s. It is 73 degrees at Fort Sam Houston, 73 at Randolph Air Force Base, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time, 8:10.
San Antonio's first news, Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman, Charlie Parker at 8:20. I'm Chris Duell. Let's check in with national correspondent Aaron Real. Aaron, you're tracking a story about how the economic plans of each major candidate would affect our national debt. What do you know about that?
nothing good would come for our national debt from either policy proposal from either candidate. They're going to add trillions, both of them. So according to the Penn-Wharton budget model, they looked at both policy proposals. And if the GOP was ever a party committed to reducing the national debt, it just isn't anymore. And we never really expected that from the Democrats. But by the numbers, if you use dynamic pricing, what they found is that Trump's promises will cost us an additional $4.1 trillion, while Harris's will cost us $2 trillion. So why are Harris's adding less to the budget than Trump's? Corporate taxes, for the most part. She wants to increase the corporate tax rate to 28% from the current 21%. Trump wants to decrease it to 15%. Therein lies, the $2 trillion missing dollars from one budget proposal to the next.
Is either candidate talking about the dire fiscal path we're on, Aaron, or is that being avoided entirely on the campaign trail?
I mean, they're talking about it. They're saying it's terrible and inflation stinks, but not really. Like, if it comes to the worrisome level of national debt that we have, they're both going to accelerate it. And this is one of those existential threat things where we're like, oh, this is bad. This is not going to end well. Shouldn't we address this? And then no one does anything. We just extend the debt ceiling and keep paying it. This will work because we're the U.S. government and we can print the money and people have faith that we'll pay our bills and just print more to pay them. But it will work until it doesn't work. And at some point, this will stop working. And I think this is why it is existential and why candidates make these promises. Because listen, it's not sexy to be like, we're going to button it up and pay our bills. Like no one's excited about that, but it's probably what should be said. And it's what the GOP kind of used to say, but not so much anymore.
So I guess the good news is they're just campaign promises. They probably won't do anything.
Okay. There you go. Listen, Trump's tax cuts have helped a lot of people. They've been nice, but they've kind of added to the deficit. And raising taxes on corporations, you don't see like a lot of tears for that. They're like, sure, but then there's unintended consequences from that. A lot of corporations will move overseas, or they'll fire a bunch of people, or jack up prices. Like none of these are good solutions. But saving money isn't always the most fun thing in the world. Paying your bills doesn't always feel good. Spending and celebrating and all that, like that's the fun part. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're in a better place. In fact, it creates a lot more stress in a lot of circumstances.
So true. Our thanks to national correspondent Aaron Real. Charlie Parker coming right up. WOAI News Time, 8:13. Charlie Parker is in studio. He's going to get us ready for the weekend. Charity, what stories are you following?
We will hear from Kamala Harris in her first official pre-taped interview tonight on CNN with her running mate. A dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area, and the U.S. Surgeon General says parental stress is a serious public health concern. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy today, stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs and low to mid-90s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the mid-90s. Saturday, partly cloudy, a stray shower, thunderstorm, possible highs in the low 90s. 70 degrees in Kerrville, Texas, 73 in New Braunfels, and 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time 8:18.
San Antonio's first news. It's not Christmas weekend for Charlie Parker, but it's close. It's a big college football weekend. Charlie, how excited are you for what's coming up?
About as excited can be. There are 26 college football games tonight. And about another 8 or 10 tomorrow. Wow. And then, of course, you got Saturday, your regular week one Saturday schedule. And then there's a college football game on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Here are your top 10 and Texas teams in the top 25. Number 1 is Georgia, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas is ranked number 4, Alabama 5, number 6 is Ole Miss, number 7 is Notre Dame, number 8 is Penn State, number 9 is Michigan, and Florida State is still number 10.
How?
Because they don't change. They don't come
until
out
everybody
with rankings
plays.
until
Yes.
everybody is played.
Okay, so they're still
they're not
there.
going to be number 10 after this weekend. Don't know where they're going to drop. Texas A&M is at number 20. Now a little bit of a quiz.
Okay.
Do you know what conference your favorite team is playing in?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's SMU?
That's not my favorite team.
Well, I'm asking you, where is SMU?
It's up in Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. But no, what conference?
I don't know SMU, but I do know where my favorite team is.
And what's your favorite team?
UT.
Oh, okay. Well, they're in
SEC.
we know they're in the SEC.
Yes.
New to the ACC this year with the teams that were already in there. SMU, California, and Stanford.
Wow.
They're now over there with the Clemsons, the North Carolina States, North Carolinas, etc.
Wow.
The Big 12, which is now the Big 16.
Yes.
It's still called the Big 12.
Yes.
But there's 16 teams.
Crazy.
We're not doing our elementary children any
No, we're not.
any good
No,
when
we're
it
not.
comes to math. New to the Big 12, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah.
Wow.
The Big 10.
Is now 18.
How many teams in the Big 10?
18.
More than 10.
18 teams.
And
wow.
right now, Florida State is number 18.
And by the way, well, Florida State's in the ACC.
Oh, that's right.
Of those 18 teams, the Big 10 will no longer have divisions.
Okay.
No longer East-West.
Okay.
And it's the same thing in the SEC. No longer any divisions, just all of the teams. New to the Big 10, Oregon, UCLA, USC,
Fight on.
and Washington. Just think about
travel.
Late October and November. Forget travel. Late October and November, when USC, when those four teams are accustomed to playing in California, Oregon, and in Washington, now playing some games in the Midwest.
Yeah.
playing some snow games. And the SEC, of course, added Texas and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
The Pac-12 has how many teams?
10.
2.
2.
Yeah.
2 teams in the
That's
Pac-12.
How can you?
Oregon State and Washington State. That's it.
So they're already in the Pac-12 championship already. They're there. Just go ahead and play it now.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is still an independent,
Right.
And probably always. I think at some point they're going to have to join a conference.
Yeah.
But right now they're still an independent. As for your military academies, Army is no longer an independent.
Okay.
They're in the American Conference.
Okay.
Navy is still in the American Conference, and the Air Force Academy is still in the Mountain West.
Wow.
Here is some of the games this weekend in college football. Texas teams first. Kennesaw State, of course, will be in town to take on UTSA on Saturday. That game on Ticket 760.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado State is at Texas. That game right here on WOAI. Abilene Christian is at Texas Tech. Carleton State is at Baylor. And UNLV will be playing at Houston.
Wow.
Parker's picks. Every week I'll pick 3 games. Money line, we call it in gambling.
So pick them.
So it's just a straight up no
points.
No points involved.
Okay.
And it won't be like, just to pad my record. I'm not going to pick games like Alabama and Western Kentucky.
Okay.
I'm going to pick games that are actually appear anyway to be competitive.
Cool.
So here are your 3 games Parker's pick. Number 14, Clemson, is at number 1, Georgia. I'm taking the Bulldogs. Okay. Number 7, Notre Dame, is at number 20, Texas A&M. I'm going to take the Irish.
Yeah.
And your game of the week is on Sunday.
Woo!
And that's my 3rd Parker's pick. Number 23, USC, at number 13, LSU.
That's actually in Las Vegas, though.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit.
Oh, is it?
It's deceiving.
Yeah. Because I was thinking to myself,
they
wow,
listed.
must it be like to be? I know what it's like to be in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night,
right.
But I didn't know what it would be like on a Sunday
Yeah,
night.
technically,
Vegas,
LSU's the home team, but it's a neutral site in Las Vegas where the Raiders play Allegiant Stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not going to Las Vegas?
I wish I were. I wish I were.
Okay. Well, you maybe not after you went because I'm taking LSU.
Sadly, I think LSU is going to win too, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
So there
Wow.
you go. And it can't get started. Like I said, there's 20-something games tonight.
But that's a lot.
I've been working on. No, that's
You've been working on your thumb.
Been working on my thumb, man.
Doing those thumb exercises.
I
That's
actually
important.
got out a second remote.
Uh-oh.
And I've got both thumbs ready to go.
Nice.
One remote and one
Just
hand.
in case you get a cramp or something, you can go to
Exactly.
the backup.
Yeah.
That's smart, man.
so
That's
that
smart.
so that I'm ready to go. It's going to be a very, very interesting season.
Yes. I can't wait.
Georgia, Notre Dame, and LSU. Take them to the bank. Those are Parker's picks. We will have him answer for those on Tuesday. We'll see. Yeah, that'll be our first day back.
Yes, it will be.
We're off Labor Day.
Oh, we're off Monday?
Yeah, we're off Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I was off Monday anyway.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, we are too. So we will see Charlie on Tuesday. Coming up, Joe Pags with a preview of the Joe Pags Show. And we have a special college football preview for you as well. Coming up, Charity with everything you need to know at the bottom of the hour. WOAI News Time, 8:25.
8:30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Thursday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Kamala Harris's pre-taped interview with CNN airs tonight, and City Council set to discuss a new baseball stadium proposal. We'll have details, first traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Thursday: partly cloudy, a stray shower or storm possible, a high near 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 73 degrees. Vice President Kamala Harris's sit-down interview with CNN will air tonight. However, she won't be doing it solo, instead being joined by her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Here's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer.
The long-awaited announcement about when and where Kamala.
Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders weighed in on the joint interview.
They know that Kamala Harris can't get through an interview all by herself. There is not a lot of confidence in somebody to become the leader of the free world and ask people to make her president of the United States when she can't even sit down with an interview.
Harris will hold a rally in Savannah, Georgia today. Meantime, the Trump campaign is downplaying an incident at Arlington National Cemetery involving a photo op with the former president.
NPR reported Monday that an altercation erupted when Arlington Cemetery staff tried to prevent members of the Trump team from photographing and filming in an area where soldiers were recently killed. It was the third anniversary of the attack at the Kabul airport that killed 13 American service members as part of the hasty exit from Afghanistan. Even though Trump had permission from family members, federal regulations prohibit any sort of partisan political activity at Army cemeteries. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
San Antonio City Council is set to hold a special session today to talk about a new proposed baseball stadium. The meeting will discuss the building of a new minor league baseball stadium that could be constructed in the San Pedro Creek Culture Park area. The estimated cost is $160 million, and according to the ownership group, the stadium will pay for itself through increased tax revenue generated by the facility and its surrounding development. It'll either be today or tomorrow that we'll know whether the State Fair of Texas will face a lawsuit over its new policy banning guns. The decision was made after last year's shooting at the fair that injured 3 people, and the fair's Carissa Condillanes said the fair is on solid ground.
The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the San Antonio Stock Show, as well as Rodeo Austin, they have similar policies in place to ban weapons. And so we feel this is the measure that we need to put in place.
Attorney General Ken Paxton gave the fair until the end of this week to walk back the new policy, or he could file suit. A group of Republican lawmakers say the rules violate the rights of law-abiding citizens. A group of Texas Republicans want more religious instruction in public schools. Michael Board reports.
Next session, there will be a push for legislation that will mandate the 10 Commandments be posted in all public school classrooms. State Representative Steve Toth says it will give kids context to their lessons.
When we see Martin Luther King's letters from the Birmingham jail, he quoted the book of Esther.
He called the Bible verse a historical document. Earlier this year, Louisiana passed a similar bill. It starts in January, but there's already been a flurry of lawsuits to stop it, saying it's akin to state-sponsored religion. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A dozen people are now facing charges of firearms trafficking in the San Antonio area. Federal prosecutors say a years-long investigation led to 12 arrests this week, along with the confiscation of nearly 200 firearms. The suspects arrested were members of an organization that would steal firearms out of cars with a plan to sell them in Mexico. The U.S. Surgeon General has issued advisories on kids' use of social media and on gun violence. But now he's issued one addressing the mental health of parents. Here's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal.
Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says he's calling for a fundamental shift in how we value and prioritize the mental health and well-being of parents. The Surgeon General notes we have 63 million parents in the country of children under the age of 18 and several others who act as caregivers, and that parents are more likely to report experiencing high levels of stress compared to other adults. Murthy says this can trickle down to children and impact their mental health, which in turn impacts our future society. He's calling for paid time off to be with sick kids, more affordable childcare, reliable mental health care, and investment in building more connection and community, noting loneliness among some parents, especially single ones. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
It is 8:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute. But first, a check of your money and the world of business. Ed Corey is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thank you, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy, here for traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news, our thanks to Charlie Parker. She's Charity McCurdy. That's Mr. T, Tim Merriman. I'm Chris Duell. Let's check in with Joe Pags from the Joe Pags Show, like so many people in the media getting ready for the big CNN interview tonight. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Chris. That's right. Today is the day for the big interview, the sit-down with Dana Bash on CNN between Kamala Harris, the vice president, and the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. They're both going to be there, which I found a little bit odd, and a lot of other people did as well, but it is what it is. So they'll both be there, and I assumed that it was going to be live. It's not going to be live. It's going to be pre-recorded. And I noticed yesterday on the program that they weren't saying it was going to be live to tape. Many of the interviews I do in my program are live to tape. They're taped before the show is done, and then we air it in its entirety without any editing, without any change of context, without the subject of the interview saying, please take that out. We just air what it is that we did in the interview, and that's what I thought this was going to be. But they're not saying that. Maybe at the end of it, they'll say this is unedited. We'll see after we watch it tonight. We're going to have Tracy Beans on to talk about that, plus the Supreme Court ruling about student loans not being forgiven, and Mark Zuckerberg and that admission that Meta was, in fact, influenced by Biden and Harris. That plus Dr. Carol Swain on RFK Jr. joining the Trump team and more on the Joe Pags Show today at 5, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Joe Pags, don't miss him, 5 to 8 p.m. today and every day. And Charity, Joe brings up a great point. I'm hoping you alluded to this earlier in the program as well, Charity. Hopefully, Dana Bash, since this is recorded, lets us know what were the parameters of the interview. Has it been edited? If it has been edited, is there going to be a full version that we can go look at online? There's a lot of questions involving this interview.
I mean, it's not only high stakes for Kamala Harris's campaign. I think, a lot of pressure is on CNN to do their due diligence and be very forthright about the stipulations put in place for this interview. And maybe Dana Bash, I'm sure CNN is trying to promote this interview as much as possible. Maybe she'll talk about behind the scenes what went on and if there was any editing done or what extent of editing was done for this interview.
I would hope that there's a disclaimer at the beginning of the interview saying that this has been edited for, whatever, time constraints, whatever, just do something like that. Give us a disclaimer.
And I don't understand, it's a big ratings bonanza for CNN. Lots of eyes are going to be on it. Why wouldn't you use it in its entirety?
Amen.
Whatever the entirety is. And then I think you add more credibility to the interview if you ran it uncut and in its entirety.
And if you do edit it, like John Decker said, make it available unedited afterwards.
That should be standard practice.
Amen.
I think, Charity, especially with political interviews, they're so high stakes that I think the citizens have the right to see every moment of the interview.
Who knows? Maybe one of the questions will be, Kamala, when will you do a live sit-down interview by yourself?
Solo.
That'd be a great question.
Yes.
I want to change my question now to that.
Yes, you can. Charlie was in here a few minutes ago talking about it's such a huge weekend starting tonight. College football. Did he say 26 games
26
tonight?
games tonight.
Crazy.
Man, that's insane.
A lot of these teams do, and including, and I'm not knocking them, and there's a strategy behind it, and it's good for the smaller colleges to play these cupcakes, because if Alabama is playing a cupcake school, that cupcake school makes about $1 million that for their athletic department that they wouldn't otherwise have. However, for many of the fans, it's not exactly the best brand of football.
No, it's not.
So in the interest of getting you completely ready for this big football weekend, Mr. T, we got a little something.
Yes, we do. This should fire everybody up.
Get ready for the first big weekend of NCAA college football. With tough matchups on Saturday like number 5 Alabama versus the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Plus number 2, the Ohio State up against the Akron Zips. And number 6, Ole Miss hosts the furious Furman Paladins.
Say what?
This weekend, you can bet on exciting football, but ask yourself one question. Will they cover the spread? Check local listings.
That's what it's about. Are they going to cover the spread? Because a lot of them are not competitive football games.
And some of these spreads are 50 points.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did he say the Furman Paladins?
That's exactly what he said.
Is that a team? Is that
yes,
an actual
that's a real team.
College football team?
Yes.
And I must admit, and I've paid attention to football my whole life, college and pro. UTSA taking on Kennesaw State. Can any of us name the Kennesaw State mascot? I can't.
No.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I did look and checked the spread. It was 24.5.
Okay.
UTSA is a 24.5 point. It might have been, because I did see it, but it might have been Pirates. I don't know.
Scrappy the Owl.
The Owl. Okay.
The Owl.
Wow.
Wow. I was a Glen Oaks Owl, Charity. My elementary school, Glen Oaks Elementary School on Newcomb Drive, We were the Owls. So
you are wise, Chris. So makes sense.
We were the Mary Hole Roadrunners.
You were a Roadrunner.
Yes, I was.
You know, I was an owl. Charity, your elementary school, what was the mascot? Do you recall? How can you not?
Well, because I bounced around to so many different elementary schools and military brats.
Okay, that's a good excuse.
That's a very good excuse.
We know you were a Rohawk
Yes,
in
in
high school.
See, I was a Mustang in high school.
I was a Husky.
I was a Cougar in junior high school, and then, of course, a Roadrunner in elementary school.
All right.
Good times.
Just wanted to make sure. Charity, if it ever comes to you, America
love
wants
to
to know.
Yes.
What were your high school, your elementary school mascots?
I went to like 3 or 4 different elementary schools. I'll
So
have to
many
do
she
some
can't even
research.
remember how many there were. It was 3 or 4, I don't know, maybe 5. I can't remember.
Well, we do know that Charity has all the big headlines. We'll get you caught up on headlines, traffic, and weather. WOAI News Time, 846. Time for headlines, traffic, and weather together. Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz' first joint interview airs tonight on CNN. A deadline is looming over the State Fair of Texas's gun ban policy, and the Labor Day weekend will be one of the busiest ever when it comes to travel. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Partly cloudy skies today. A stray shower, thunderstorm possible. Highs and low to mid-90s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. Highs in the mid-90s. Then Saturday, partly cloudy again. A stray shower, thunderstorm possible. Highs in the low 90s. 73 degrees in Leon Valley. 73 at the Snake Farm. And 73 right here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time, 8:52.
San Antonio's first news on this Friday Eve. Tomorrow won't only be Friday, it will be Barry Manilow Day in San Antonio, the day of the concert tomorrow night at the Frost Bank Center. So, Charity, I think it's only fair that Barry Manilow joins us on the show tomorrow.
Yes, and I got a little nervous talking to Barry, but he is the sweetest guy, so talented. We got a little behind-the-scenes peek at what goes on before the show, preparations, wardrobe selection, and potential love match that might occur during the Barry Manilow concert between Bob and Cindy.
Listeners to the show, if you're new to the show, you may not know, Cindy won Barry Manilow tickets, but one of the guys calling in wanting the tickets was Bob. So Cindy said, I want the tickets and I'll go with Bob.
So now they're going out on their first date. It's a Barry Manilow show. How cool is that?
I love it.
Yeah, but watch out. We got Jolene and Kemper, aisle row 18. I'm not
Something
sure.
like that,
Something
yeah.
like that.
And
yeah.
the storyteller will be there.
Who's pretty close. And storyteller we know likes Kemper because you tell Kemper I said hello.
Could be a lot of romance in the air tomorrow night.
Usually is at a Barry show.
At the Frost Bank Center. Yes. And how are we going to top Barry Manilow as a guest tomorrow? Randy Beamer.
There you go. Fridays with Beamer.
Friday. Wow, that's too much show tomorrow. I think that's too much.
The question is, what costume will Randy be wearing?
I think he's going to bust out the boa in honor of Barry Manilow and Copacabana.
So what you're saying is those in the NOAA wear the boa.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we will react and overreact to the big interview. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz with Dana Bash. Will Dana bash Kamala tonight, Charity, or will she throw softballs?
I'm telling you, Dana Bash and her poker face, I mean, she just kind of like zones in on you and you don't know what emotion she's feeling at the time because, again, she just has this blank stare. It's amazing.
It's got to be tough to be her husband. I've been coming home and having Dana Bash interrogate you like that with that stare.
Yes, I took the trash out, I swear.
Please, leave me alone. All right. We will reconvene tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. We hope you'll join us then. Let's see, we got Glenn Beck coming right up. But before that, Charity's got everything you need to know on this Friday Eve. But right now, your Sean Hannity Morning Minute, WOAI News Time, 8:55.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great night.
Muchachos.
Muchachos. See you mañana.